And now continuing our talk with Chris Robertshaw about the situation with Rally Isle of Man. Continue, please.
Okay, at that meeting on the Thursday, I challenged Department for Enterprise. I said, why are you guys not being supportive here? What's the problem? What's the difference between TT and Manx Grand Prix and this car rally? You give them, for example, you give TT £4.5 million worth of support. Every department of government, effectively one way or the other, is involved. There's massive engagement on the ground, and your commitment is total. Why are you shunning the car rally? And the answer I got from the senior officer in Department for Enterprise as well, we sponsor the TT. So I said, my attitude was, well, goodness me, you care hugely about the TT because you're the sponsoring body, but you seem not interested in trying to make things work for the car rally, which, you know, it brings very fundamental questions into play here, that actually the Department for Enterprise is not actually supporting tourism. It's supporting and protecting itself where it's involved in events, but where it's not, it seems to be washing its hands.
Well, they weren't talking to us anyway. It was FO, the infrastructure was the ones who were talking to us about this whole thing. So someone's got to take responsibility. Are they taking responsibility overall?
The Department for Enterprise, well, the government should have worked together far better than it did, and all it seemed to do was just to gang up and brush aside the situation that the car rally people were in. The car rally people pay government for some of the services that are provided, and recently they've had no financial support at all, and very little officer engagement or government engagement. So there's a fundamental issue to deal with here about the mindset within government between dealing with the TT and dealing with the car rally, and that's for a future date. But let's come to more recent circumstances now, where incidentally, I should explain that the closure of the Thursday meeting was that by the following Monday or Tuesday there would be a decision as to whether, effectively, the matter could be opened up again. And I was impressed with the submissions that the car rally people had made, and sure enough, by the following Tuesday or Wednesday of the week following the Thursday meeting, there seemed to be a much more positive approach. However, all this had effectively damaged the circumstances of this year's car rally, in the sense that, you know, uncertainties were growing, and I understand the car rally organisers became more and more anxious about the number of people who were actually going to come because of all this very late uncertainty. And again, I understand that the number of applications had fallen below the level where the rally organisers break even, and this is not a big organisation. These are all volunteers, effectively, and they couldn't swallow a big.
And you haven't had a chance to see my John Gill interview because we just recorded it. But I mean, they had to come a day. They said they had to buy stuff, and if they didn't do that, they'd be a mess.
So they could see that there was a problem coming with regard to the need to underwrite if the car rally was going to go ahead. Now, what I don't think you've heard so far is that the Department for Enterprise issued a note, an email to interested parties, and by this time I'm included as an interested party, saying effectively that they will consider an underwriting figure on application by the car rally people. But I also understand it was predicated on whether or not the DOI completed their negotiations and safety discussions with the rally people. So by this time, bearing in mind that appears not to have happened, and that whole situation needs to be examined, the car rally people were in an impossible position, a totally impossible position. Okay. So they were left with no alternative but to say, well, actually, we've got to close down on this, and this has done huge reputational damage to the Isle of Man. And in my view, the whole thing is an absolute shambles, and it shouldn't have happened the way.
And you're blaming Lawrence Scully, Enterprise, not Harmer in DOI, or what?
I think DOI have been intransigent. I think Department for Enterprise have failed in their duty to support tourism. I haven't got a particular view on Department for Home Affairs, except they seem very determined to make their views known.
Has your relationship with Lawrence Scully completely broken down, by the way?
Well, some time back, I took the view that I could no longer. I mean, I've never asked for a minister's resignation before in all my time in politics, but I've got to the point where he just simply is not working for tourism. There's nobody fighting the corner for tourism. There's no strategy. Oh, and here's another point. I've just of late become aware that the new agency, the tourism agency that Department for Enterprise have set up, I've had no involvement in this whole process. So you have to ask yourself the question, what's the point of having an agency that's not involved and contributing to the discussions concerning something which is so important? This car rally is a sort of fairly late season event, and it keeps the season going, and the plug's just been pulled on it.
Do you think it can come back? Do you think that it can be on 2019 on the basis of the same characters are involved on both sides?
I think the department, I think government itself has got to be subject to a wake-up call about tourism. It's got to get a clear strategy ahead, and it's got to have people who are really going to fight the corner. And right now, nobody's fighting the corner for tourism.
So it's not going to work. Heads should roll.
Well, I've already told you.
Yeah, but I mean, but also in departmental size, because you're saying that the civil servants were ganging up, almost you're saying, against the rally people. You've got these 3 different government departments, and intransigent in use.
Well, I mean,
is that too strong?
No, it's not too strong.
Right.
It's yet again. I mean, I don't know how many times I have to say this. If you go back over my interviews over the years, you will hear me say
silos.
Hear me say again and again and again that far too much of what happens is controlled by officers, as it were, down inside the departments who are dictating what happens. The ministers have failed to see the bigger picture, and there is no strategy for tourism. It's just a shambles.
To leave this, how are you asking more questions? Because obviously written questions go on up until.
I'm not a fan of written.
So you're going to wait until October for the
I'm not a fan of questions particularly, because it's all formatted and it's too tight. This needs a thoroughgoing examination.
Do you want an inquiry into it?
Well, I can't speak at all on behalf of the committee that I chair, which is the Economic Policy Review Committee, which oversees the Department for Enterprise. And I intend to take this issue to my fellow members and ask them whether they're willing to examine this, get everybody in and ask some detailed questions about who said what and why, and then try to get to a situation where this sort of nonsense doesn't happen.